Lea, how's your day going aside from doing media today?
Oh, it's been great. Thank you so much for asking. How's your day?
Nonstop but good. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you again. The last time we had to deal with the delays of the German translation. So,
Yeah.
have you secretly been understanding everything all the American journalists were saying the whole time?
Well, I mean, now we're speaking in English, so you must know that to some capacity I am able to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a weird situation having it be translated. Yeah.
yeah. Obviously, you were fluent as fluent can be, and you've been working nonstop the last 5 years or so as an actress. Was there ever a plan B for all this? Did you know that, hey, I'm going to be a career actress already at such a young age?
Oh, I think nobody knows at that sort of age, and it's such a volatile sort of career path. You never know if it's gonna work out, and so far, I've been lucky enough. But if it hadn't been acting, it would have probably been something similar, which is like psychology or something like that. I've always been very fascinated by the human mind and sort of like the paths of reaction that we take and how emotions work and all that kind of stuff. So. I guess similar, just in a different setting. Yeah.
Well, it's a very cerebral show that you're on, whereas Wanda, and it's great to see you as the title character because for the rest of your life, you can know at least one show was named after you. But when you auditioned for the show, did you know that the show was named after this character you are auditioning for?
No, because it was called differently. We used to have like a different working title, which I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say or not. It's like yeah, it was just we worked under like I think the name captive. Oh, that's my cat, sorry.
Yeah.
We worked under the name captive, but I guess that would have been too revealing, I guess, for the sort of thing that happens in the show. And so I didn't know, but it was a great turnout for me, I guess, when they decided to call it Where's Wanda, because now I have like this immense titular role, which is great for me. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Now, going back to my original question about the English versus German,
Yeah.
mostly Apple TV shows or Apple TV Plus shows don't get that international release and PR campaign. When you were making the show, did you know it was going to be such a worldwide priority for Apple TV?
I did not. I did not know. And it still like amazes me to see it. Like sometimes I go check on Apple TV how we're doing, because they have like the where the standing and sort of thing, and it's such a so amazing to be part of this and for it to be working so well because we really worked really hard for it and we tried our very best and to be able to produce something out of Germany and sort of make it into the international sort of realm is really great for us. Yeah.
And it's a very funny cast. It's a good mix of comedians, serious actors, etc. Did you know anybody from the cast before landing this role?
I didn't. I knew one person personally. Ironically, it was Aaron who played Chris. We'd met once before at a premiere, and we went bowling together,
Oh,
and it was really fun. And then like half a year later, suddenly we were like casting to be playing these two roles, which it was great. Everybody else, obviously, I knew from seeing on TV, but I had never met any of them um, personally, and I was very happy that we matched so well and that we were so happy working together that the chemistry sort of worked out. It was a very lucky sort of pick. Yeah,
and if IMDb is correct, we're next going to see you in City of Blood. Is that correct?
true. Yes.
And so at this point in time, it seems like whatever project you're promoting, there's two to four in the works that you can't talk about.
I mean, yeah, I've been working, I've been trying very hard to keep on pushing because I've just fallen in love with my job so much and I can't really stop, I love it. I really love working and I always sort of get confused when I don't have anything to work on. And I'm very excited about it. It's a great honor for me at such a young age to be playing in such amazing shows and yeah, City of Blood is coming, I think, in like a year or so, and I'm very excited about it as well. But for now, I mean, there's still 2 episodes that are going to air from Wanda, and that's exciting too, because the last 2 episodes are sort of like wild, and it switches up so much. It's great.
Well, my last question related to Where's Wanda before I let you go, and this might be a tough one to answer. Is there a personal highlight for you in being part of this series? Something that stands out from other productions that you've been part of?
Definitely. I had never done comedy before. It's a very like it's not comedy as we know it so much. It's like a very like specific sort of comedic aspect that it has, which is like this weird balance between very emotional, very true-hearted, and this other layer of ironic, sarcastic commentary on
Yes.
the sort of movie tropes that we know and all that. But it was the first time for me trying that kind of thing, and it's a different sort of work rhythm, because you have to really like know like very you have to be very precise with your lines and fast as well. It's different, and I liked it. It sometimes my brain hurt after after like a whole day working, because you're just so concentrated all the time, but it was a very nice experience. Yeah.
Worth the hard work. Well, it shows on screen, so congrats on your work
Thank
on Where's
you.
Wanda, and looking forward to whatever is to come in the future.
Thanks.
Paltrocast. How's your day going, aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again?
Hey Darren. I'm in Berlin in Germany. It's in the evening. It's dark
Yeah.
outside already, and I had a pretty packed day. And I was looking forward for my interviews tonight because it's special for me. And it's although I do a lot of interviews in Germany and German-speaking countries, it was very special for me to do the interviews today with also you. So I'm hyped and I'm here.
Well, very often you're the one leading the interview. Now you're the one being interviewed. So thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on your work on Where's Wanda. How much of the Katarina character is in you? Are you very similar in real life to Katarina?
Not at all. Not at all. I think just the hair color. And uh, no, I'm very different. So for me, it was super interesting. I'm a very emotional person, and I'm just, you can see everything in my eyes. I'm very emotional and naive and very how you say it in English? Ehrlich.
Honest, straightforward.
Yes,
Um,
honest. Thank you. Wow.
yeah,
Uh,
so
and so
this is a compliment. I mean, your career, you were very successful as a TV presenter, very successful as an actress, and those two took off around the same time. But did you plan all along to be an actress, or was that an accidental thing?
I loved to play, so I did it in the theater in school and stuff like that. And then so it was, I think, even in the same month when I got invited to my first casting for the first movie. And there was the director, very famous German director, and he just discovered me at the picture. And he was like, "Who's this girl? I want to see her, to get to know her." So, and then he had this little role for me, and then I was playing, and it made so much fun. And so I think and I got the role. I got the role.
Yes.
And I think in the same month, I got the proposal from MTV, and I started also my presenting career at MTV. Yeah.
So it
So
did happen around the same time.
it
Wow.
did happen around the same time. So it was always, in Germany, the people, they like to divide the both jobs. So so you do movies, series, or you do presenting TV shows. And I think in
Not
America
you.
it's a bit different. And so I started this mix, and so I'm 15 years in the business, so it's working.
Right. And Where's Wanda is the rare Apple TV show that gets the international appeal. Like you're doing the American press days and all that. When you first read the script, Did you understand that it was going to be this big international show and not just for the German market?
You know, when you're sitting in your living room and you read this screenplay and you know that it's for Apple TV, then you get like this heartbeat. Yeah, like a little bit faster, the heartbeat. And so you read a little bit faster because you're so curious. And yeah, the tension is coming. And then you're like, okay, wow. And then I was asking Franziska, the CEO in Germany of Apple TV, it's like, is it really international then? She's like, yeah, then it's international. And it's like, wow, okay, so cool. And for us in Germany, it was a very special project, of course, as we heard that Apple TV is planning their first series, first German production. So we were all, yeah, very happy about that. So I'm very happy being a part of that.
And you're happy, even though your character is nothing like you, the human being, it shows your depth. Do you hope to do more roles like this, more dark roles?
So for me, it was the journey about her, that she is like this perfect looking lady and you expect her having nothing in her mind, then next appointment for the manicure. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe she's smart. And in my life, I always got underestimated because I always wanted to look good. And so she's also very underestimated. And she has like this dark secret, which you don't expect her. And what I really liked about Katharina Vincent is that she's doing like actually female empowerment. So she is no, am I allowed to spoil?
Yeah, sure, you can.
So she is the king, and you wouldn't expect that, of course, because it's king and not queen. Yeah, but even though you would think that it's a man who's doing this kind of stuff and not a woman. Also, for example, that she wants to candidate, she wants to run for the mayor of the village. Also, this is more male thing than female things.
But my last question for you before I let you go, being such a music-oriented person, what's the last concert that you went to for fun?
Oh, Adele. I went to Adele in Munich to the big shows, and I went to the first one, and it was just like a miracle. It was just amazing. I loved it.
And I assume you had all access passes and you went backstage, right? Of course you did. Well, Palina, congrats on Where's Wanda, and really looking forward to whatever's coming next from you.
Thank you very, very much, dear Darren. I'm looking forward to have the next interview maybe with you in the future.
Paltrocast.
Dori, Kenneth, Dori, a pleasure to be speaking with you both. Two-parter. First to you, Dori. How are you, aside from talking about yourself and Kenneth in the movie? And the second thing is, which interview of the day is this? Is like the third or the fifth or the 10th?
You cut out there, but I got the first one. I'm doing great. I didn't hear what you said after that.
So a lot of times you have to do these junkets where you get asked the same questions over and over again. So I'm curious what you keep getting asked besides, is Kenneth as awesome as he seems? And how much do you love the movie?
Yeah, well, those are the main questions that, we should be asked, right?
Yeah, well, throwing it to Kenneth here, two-parter. How are you? And are you Dr. Cole? Do I have to call you Dr. Cole because of the honorary doctorates?
No, I guess that would make me a podiatrist, right? No, I have not assumed that title. I have others, but that isn't one of them. Thank you.
I thought that Emory had given you the honorary doctorate, given all the philanthropy that you've done with them and for them.
I've done a few speeches at Emory. I have not actually received the ultimate degree, but I've gotten a few others, and I have enjoyed staying connected to them over the years.
Well, we have manifested that the doctorate is coming. And I'm curious, was this the first time in working with Dori that you have been asked to do a documentary or be featured like this?
I think so. It's the first time somebody came and offered to basically tell this story and take the time and apply the resources um, to learn um, and to and to aggregate and or put together a story and ultimately share it with other well-intended individuals, unsuspecting and but well-intended.
Well-intended. Well, Dori, you are an Emmy winner, a Tony winner. Eventually, you're going to have the EGOT, I can tell. But how did you first find out about Kenneth besides knowing, hey, these are great garments?
Well, I was more like, these are great billboards, because I certainly was aware of the fashion brand, but I was equally aware of all the really insightful, clever billboards and taxi cab tops in the 80s, 90s in New York, and beyond. And that I found so powerful and important. And in fact, I clipped out ads that I would see of Kenneth's that just really were so important to me. And so I was very aware of both the commerce and the cause for a very long time.
And how much did you know of Kenneth's story when it came to making the documentary? Because obviously we know the ending, we know it's a long-term success kind of deal, but sometimes when you're doing a documentary, as you would know, you don't really find out the story until you've spoken with the people who know them.
Well, I thought I knew quite a bit, but when you get into it and you really start to ask questions and you talk to other people that Kenneth has collaborated with, you learn so much more. So as much as I thought I knew, there was so much I didn't know. And, I became panicked early on because I thought, we're making a feature doc, but maybe this should be a series because there's 40 years of incredible work. And how in the world am I going to be able to tell this story in one film?
And you managed to do that. Now, Kenneth, is there any part of you that was just hesitant to put yourself out there in being part of a documentary like this? Did you need to be talked into it?
I did. I had to think about it, but also how do I enable a story, an authentic story, and which would inherently suggest some vulnerabilities and some ups, as well as some downs, as well as the ups, and which is hard to do. It's hard because sometimes we so ponder on the opportunities and we're so focused on where we're going, we tend to lose sight of where we've been. And I've been doing this for 40 years, and I think that's been part of what's enabled it, is that I really feel everything we've done up until now is a platform to enable us to do everything we first need to do. And to the degree you ponder it and you deliberate and you get lost in the moment, you have a hard time sometimes finding your path forward. So, but the conversations with Dori and Dori's with other people, I think, helped shine a light on some of these other things. And then at the end, Dori had to focus on how to tell somewhat of a cohesive story, in the time that was available. At the same time, create the context, which is the business platform, which is sometimes easier said than done.
No, when we were talking off the record, I made a creepy comment about being close to where you grew up. And I'm not from Great Neck. I don't live in Great Neck. The town I'm dialing in from is Long Beach, Long Island, New York, which is now 30-ish minutes from where you grew up. And the two high schools in your town really did change the world. When I think about, yourself and Andy Kaufman and John Taffer, et cetera, were any of these notables in your high school class?
They were not in my high school class. And they were not in my high school class. Stevie Cohen actually was in class.
The owner of the Mets was in your high school class?
Yeah. He was a year below me, but I knew Stevie well then.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And throwing it over to you, Dori. Now, Kenneth is obviously a New York icon, and a lot of your other films, we've seen New York icons, Marvin Hamlish, Carol Channing, Liza Minnelli, etc. Do you find that New York is still the epicenter of entertainment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just bursting. There's just so much opportunity, not just to see great art and all different kinds of art, but also to create it. And there's so many extraordinary creators here in New York. And so the energy from that is just palpable. I feel it all the time.
And are we allowed to know which project is coming next for you? And I ask that because this film is obviously years in the making. You have to have that window of doing PR in the festival premiere. But any great filmmaker goes, yeah, I know what the next few ideas are.
Yeah, well, I have two other films that are in post-production and theater that is coming on strong. So there's lots going on.
Now,
for sure.
Kenneth, in your world, obviously this is the only documentary about you that we know of for the immediate near future, but are there any projects besides your philanthropy and your everyday business that we should know about? Or is it just a, hey, follow me on Instagram and that's the best way to know what's going on?
So a big part of what I do is, and Dori covers some of it in the film, is well, I have my business. So in the ordinary course, and we've reintroduced women's wear, and we're kind of redefining the brand in certain ways, and that's the fashion business. And then I have the mental health business, which is becoming a very big endeavor, and we are taking on projects that will potentially transform a lot of what we do and the way we do it. And they're ambitious, but I do think that you need to aim high and you need to challenge yourself. And at the end of the day, if you get only even halfway there, then it's meaningful. And so, one of the things that I have done, and I think part of what Dori focuses on in the film, is I have infused philanthropy into my business model, which is unique. I mean, first of all, just to give even more, go back even a bit more. So in the fashion business, the job is to be, fashion is in and of itself relative, and what's fashionable to you may not be to me, what's fashionable to you today may not be tomorrow. And so, and it's a fast moving train. And, but if I can connect it to something that, and I need to be relevant in order to have a reason to exist. So, and I have found that if I can speak to you about not just what's on your body, but what's on your mind, not just what you stand in, but what you stand for, that you and I are gonna, there's gonna be a much more meaningful bond, and that's more sustainable than hem lengths and heel heights. And so this is something I was kind of conscious of early on, and then I felt I needed that social initiatives infused into the business model, which in some people might refer to as philanthropy, was a way that just felt comfortable and felt natural. And at the time, it was HIV, and it was on everybody's minds but nobody's lips, and because the stigma was so overwhelming and so devastating. So, and I set out to do what others wouldn't and arguably shouldn't and maybe even couldn't, and we told the story about the fact that we decided to talk about what nobody else wanted to talk about, and the fact that nobody wanted to talk about it, and
right.
and it changed. The man changed the brand, and changed the company forever. So because everything all of a sudden connected, clicked, made sense, and I've just stayed on that track. But what I've done differently than most people is that I've infused philanthropy into the business. So it's not just something we do, it's part of who we are. And we initially took on the AmFAR endeavor, for lack of a better term. We did all of their branding, all of their marketing, all their communications came through our office. So this whole company felt they were part of AmFAR. And AmFAR in some ways felt we were part of them. So, and they were, and it was part of how people were challenged, how they were reviewed, how they were and everybody felt what they were doing all of a sudden was so much more meaningful than just creating shoe ads or shoe messages or so. And that is how we started. But then, and so we worked on HIV for a long time. I accepted a UN appointment and worked with them on a sustainable goals initiative to end AIDS by a certain point in time. And then I took a step back and started Mental Health Coalition. Long story. You want to know more about it, see the film. And I say in jest, but what we did there was, and also at Amphar too, we infused business principles into the philanthropy. So, and it wasn't just something we did. It needed to justifiably exist. It needed to fill a need that others couldn't fill. And it needed ultimately to have, it needed to bring scale and synergy and impact, and all quantifiable and all transparent to the task at hand. And it became very apparent that there was countless ways to do that and areas to do that. And it started with stigma, which is what we had pretty much focused on with HIV in its early years, because nobody wanted to talk about it. So our goal was to make it easier to talk about it. So, and NAMI had come to us and said, we'd love if you could do for us, for mental health, what you had done for HIV. And in the earlier years. And we sat back and reflected. 1 in 200 people at that point, probably still pretty similar, were living with HIV at the time. And arguably 1 in 4 are living with mental health conditions. So, or would be living with mental health conditions. So rather, a rather overwhelming thought and notion. We came to the conclusion, in fact, that it was probably 4 out of 4. Because if it wasn't you, it was somebody you loved, somebody in the family, in the community, the workplace, but everybody was living with this, right. And everybody was traumatized in some way by this, uniquely. And so we said to NAMI, well, if we're going to do it, this is so much bigger than NAMI. We need to bring other people into this. And they said, be our guest. They spoke amongst themselves. And they said, so we reached out essentially to all the major service providers in the industry, and they all said we're in. And so now we have this very impressive coalition of 40 plus organizations, all NGOs, the largest in the various sectors, and all aligned around the notion of stigma reduction. And one would say, well, what are your qualifications? I'm not a public health person. I'm not a psychiatrist. And the truth is, stigma is about perception. Mm-hmm. And I do feel I'm in the perception business. And I do feel that is what I do. That's my day job. And I do talk to people about what's on their mind. And I do try to make and communicate messages that relate to people on a certain level. And so this was a challenge we took on. And it's one that was a little bit maybe overwhelming, and there's certain aspects of it. And what was great with Dori is that, 1 or 2 of these projects we were just about to take on. So she had an opportunity to film them, to capture him somewhat at their inception and see them, through the arc, which is of storytelling, and also social impact, which is, I guess, what we all try to ultimately make happen.
Mission accomplished times 10. Well, congrats to you both on this film, A Man with Soul. Fantastic work, and looking forward to what's coming next from both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Paltrow.